You know, we tend to think of medical progress as this slow, steady climb, right? But what if it wasn't? What if I told you modern medicine wasn't an evolution but a full-blown revolution? That in just a handful of decades around the turn of the 20th century, boom, 3 key breakthroughs changed everything. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, picture this. You need surgery. But your biggest fear? It's not the knife itself. It's what comes after. Infection, not knowing what's really wrong inside, losing too much blood. For many, surgery was a death sentence. So, what changed? What flipped the switch and turned the operating room from a place of sheer terror into a place of healing? That's the big question we're going to dig into.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the cause, the really dire state of medicine right on the brink of change. Then we'll cover the main events, the 3 big discoveries that solved these huge problems. And finally, we'll examine the consequences, the new challenges that came with all this incredible progress.
All right, let's set the stage. We're talking late 1800s here, and to be blunt, it was a really, really dangerous time to be a patient. Just take a look at this. Does that look sterile to you? It looks more like a college lecture hall, right? Surgeons would often operate in their street clothes with unwashed hands, using instruments that were, if you were lucky, just wiped clean. The whole invisible world of germs was a total mystery. And yeah, patients were the ones who paid the ultimate price.
So it all boiled down to these 3 massive, deadly problems. 1. Infection after surgery wasn't just a risk, it was practically a given. 2. Doctors were basically flying blind. They had no idea what was going on inside your body until they cut you open. And 3, if you lost too much blood, well, that was it. Game over. There was simply nothing they could do.
So the first big breakthrough, the first major battle in this medical revolution wasn't against an enemy you could see. It was a war declared on the microscopic world of germs.
Okay, so this surgeon named Joseph Lister hears about Louis Pasteur's new germ theory in the 1860s and has this huge light bulb moment. What if we could kill the germs before they even get a chance to cause an infection? He starts using carbolic acid as an antiseptic. And the results? They were staggering. In his own ward, the death rate for amputations dropped from almost 50%, I mean that's a coin toss, down to 15%. Now it actually took decades for his ideas to be fully accepted, but by 1900, germ-free, or aseptic, surgery was finally becoming the new standard.
You know what's wild? Look at these steps. Wash your hands, wear gloves, sterilize your tools. To us, this is just basic, right? Surgery 101. But back then, this was absolutely revolutionary. These simple habits single-handedly slashed mortality rates and made complex surgery something you could actually survive. Okay, so problem number 1, infection, is getting under control. But doctors are still working completely in the dark. Which brings us to our second revolution, a discovery that let doctors, for the first time ever, see right through skin and muscle. So in 1895, a German physicist, Wilhelm Röntgen, is just messing around with electrical currents in his lab. He stumbles on this mysterious new kind of ray. He called it an X-ray because he didn't know what it was, that could pass through soft stuff like your skin, but got blocked by denser things like bone. And the medical world knew immediately this was a game changer. And the story of the discovery itself is just brilliant. I mean, picture being Röntgen, seeing the bones of your own hand glowing on a screen. He then convinces his wife to put her hand in the beam, and bam, he creates the world's very first X-ray image. You can even see her wedding ring. It must have felt like pure magic.
So the crucial point is this: the X-ray transformed diagnostics, like overnight. All of a sudden, a doctor could pinpoint a broken bone, find a piece of shrapnel, or identify a kidney stone with incredible accuracy, all without making a single cut. It took so much of the sheer guesswork out of medicine.
We've conquered infection, and we can see inside the body. But there's one more deadly problem to solve. What happens when a patient loses too much blood during one of these newly possible complex surgeries? The idea of blood transfusions wasn't new, but it was incredibly dangerous, a real roll of the dice. You had a few huge hurdles: blood clots almost as soon as it leaves the body. The equipment itself could introduce infection. But the biggest mystery of all was why some transfusions worked miracles while others caused a swift, fatal reaction in the patient. The answer, the big aha moment, came in 1901 from an Austrian doctor, Karl Landsteiner. He discovered that not all human blood is the same. He identified 3 different groups, A, B, and O, and realized that mixing incompatible types was what caused those deadly reactions.
This single discovery was the key that finally unlocked safe blood transfusions.
And it got even better. Just a few years later, in 1907, researchers identified Group O as the universal donor. This was a massive deal. In an emergency, you could give a patient Group O blood without even needing to know their specific type. You can just imagine how many lives that saved on the battlefield and in the ER.
So there they are, our three pillars: sterile surgery, X-rays, and blood transfusions. Together, they launched medicine into the modern age, but progress always comes at a price. These amazing new tools created their own set of new and unforeseen problems.
And this really summarizes the trade-off. We gained the ability to perform incredible, life-saving surgeries, but that brought the risk of new technical failures. We could see inside the body, but didn't yet understand the dangers of radiation. We could replace lost blood, but we still struggled with long-term storage and clotting.
Yeah, just look at this early X-ray machine. It's a massive, cumbersome piece of equipment. It bears almost no resemblance to the sleek, targeted devices we have today. And its appearance is a pretty good hint at the dangers lurking within.
The pioneers of radiology paid a heavy price. The health risks of radiation were completely unknown. Exposure levels were enormous, about 1,500 times higher than a modern X-ray. It's just staggering. On top of that, the fragile glass tubes could shatter, and the machines were so bulky they were incredibly difficult to use effectively. But despite these new challenges, there's just no question about the impact. Aseptic surgery made the body accessible. The X-ray made the body transparent. And blood transfusions made long, complex operations sustainable. These three pillars, discovered in a remarkably short time, truly created the foundation of the medicine we all rely on today. Which leaves us with a fascinating question for the future. As we enter a new era of breakthroughs with things like AI diagnostics, gene editing, and personalized medicine, we have to ask ourselves, what new, unforeseen challenges will they create? What will be the next price of progress?